Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So in this one here, I wanted to do a Q&A video here, answering your questions on The Walking Dead. There's quite a bit of questions here, so yeah, let's get into this here. So before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. It's been exactly 2 years now since The Walking Dead ended, which is absolutely insane. So I'm most likely going to be doing a video later on today talking about that. I do want to do sort of a, 2 years later video, talk about, what The Walking Dead has been like over the last 2 years, get into some of that, and then just give my thoughts on what The Walking Dead is like now 2 years later after the main show ended. And so yeah, but first question here, so Q&A, do you think that when The Walking Dead comes to an end, it will have a 25-year time jump like it did in the comics? I think that most likely, I think there will be some sort of ending like that. There is a reason why they never did that in the finale, I think. And so yeah, I do think that it'll probably end in some way like that, because what Gimple said after the very final issue of The Walking Dead comic came out was that, it read like a pilot. And so that was really interesting. I think he read that and he was like, all right, this is going to be, one day, hopefully anyways, a first episode of a brand new TV show, basically. So I think that very last issue of the Walking Dead comic, where it jumps forward 25 years, that's where the future of the Walking Dead is, with this, current era basically over. I think that's going to be the start of something new at that point there. So, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I do think that in terms of ending The Walking Dead, would you do a 25-year time jump to sort of show off some of that? Or, you know what I mean? Like, unless you have actual plans to really do that, it could be really tricky, because depending on who you cast for the scene for that very last issue, like, things could be very different. The Walking Dead actually, like, originally did do some sort of time jump like that, where it jumped forward 25 years and you saw all the characters much older, like all the younger characters on The Walking Dead. They were much older, like all in their 20s or 30s or whatever. So that was an alternate ending to The Walking Dead. Obviously, they never wanted to do that. So I just think that that's always an option. They could do that at some point in the future, but it all depends on how they, sort of want to plan out the future of The Walking Dead, I guess. But Q&A, how are you? Well, first of all, thank you so much for asking. I am overall fine, I would say. I think that, I have stresses like everyone else does, but I'm doing good. I'm just trying to focus on the positive every single day. So, yeah, but Q&A, what would you want the Walking Dead universe to be in the next 5 to 10 years? Well, I guess as a fan watching the show, I would prefer it to really, in the next 5 to 10 years for sure, build up to like the end game. And not even like in 10 years. I mean, like in 5 years. So, in 10 years from now, maybe be on the whole like next generation show sort of thing. But for sure in the next like 5 years or 5 years from now, I want the Endgame series to be airing. Like, I really don't want to have to wait 10 years for this to come out, because I just think that the characters are also going to get a lot older, and I think that it's just, we're at the point now where some of this stuff does have to start happening very soon, like maybe not in the next like 2 years, but 5 years from now, yeah, I think for sure. So I hope that Gimple is working on some of that stuff, because I don't want it to be 2034 and we're still talking about this whole Endgame reunion, because I just think that I don't want to have to wait too long. So I just hope that, yeah, it does happen at least sooner rather than later. I think in 5 years from now is the perfect time, because you do need to build up some of the story here and set up quite a bit of things with the overall universe. But yeah, any longer than that, and I think that that's just gonna get, I don't know, that's a little bit too much for me. But Q&A, when do you think they will explain the post-credit scene with Dr. Jenner? This, I really don't know. I honestly don't have an answer to this, because I don't really know when Gimple plans to do any of this, just because, it really is like, he'll get into stuff sometimes, but then he decides not to out of nowhere, and it's just, I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know in terms of that. I thought we were already getting that, because that was something that happened years ago, but that's the thing too, is like, it's not really connected at all, but maybe it is connected. Like, I just feel like there needs to be a lot more connections here. The Walking Dead was doing very, very good a couple of years ago, where it really felt like everything was connected, and now it feels like everything is more disconnected. And yes, the finale of Daryl Dixon season 2 started to connect things a little bit more, so I'm excited about that. But it's just because the last like year or two, things haven't really felt that connected, so I'm worried about the future that it's going to go back to that. But I do have the feeling that as they're building towards this whole Endgame thing, that with Dead City season 2, they'll build up more connections there. Daryl Dixon season 3, they're going to build up some more connections there. And then it's just going to keep building and building to something, because Laurent going back to the Commonwealth is a very, very big deal, right? Like, that's a big step in that direction in terms of, you know, I guess connecting Rick and Daryl and whatever that reunion's going to be, if it's going to be on its own show or whatever. So in terms of your question, I don't really know when they're going to explain it, because maybe they already kind of did, but they forgot some stuff, or maybe, you know, it is actually very different and it's something that we are going to get into at some point by the end of The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon, right? Like that could be a season 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6 thing. So we'll have to wait and see. Q&A, were you kind of disappointed they didn't introduce Silas from World Beyond into the Rick and Michonne series at all? I will say at the time I wasn't that disappointed, because I think that it overall made sense. Like, I just didn't really want too many connections to The Ones Who Live, but looking back at it now, I really feel like the lack of connection to that series is very off. Like, I don't know, I think that's one of my concerns right now overall with the way that Gimple is running The Walking Dead, is that there's not really a lot of connections. Like, he'll try to make connections here and there where it's very, very, like, it's just in the background and there's some sort of connection there, but you really have to look for it. And I think if you're watching the show as, you know, I guess just watching The Walking Dead casually, like, you're not going to catch all those little things there. So I just think that there needs to be a lot more connections overall. And again, like, that's the one thing about World Beyond that was so exciting, was that all connected to everything. You know, it really felt like everything was, I guess, worth watching in the sense that it all mattered overall. But like, I think World Beyond felt like it was connected with everything in terms of, you know, the CRM and all of that. But watching The Ones Who Live, there was really no connection at all to World Beyond, and you didn't really need to make that much of a connection. But I think just mentioning some of the characters would have been smart. Like, I know Jadis was on both shows, so that's awesome. But like, Elizabeth Kublik and what happened with her, you know, I think that there was a few things they could have done there a little bit better, I think, in terms of mentioning some of what happened there. You know, I think that there was a lot of storylines in terms of what happened in Portland as well. Like, there was just a lot of things they never really went back to, and I think that is overall frustrating. Q&A, if we ever get original canon Walking Dead back in some format, are we going to see the slow variants introduced that climb walls, I guess, from season 12? Or I guess you would see them in season 12 is what you're saying. I think we could see walkers like that again, but again, I think they're just always going to change up the walkers here and there, and I think it's more explained that the walkers are, you know, just different overall in certain locations. Like, some walkers will start to do this or that, you know, walkers will climb, there's sleepers, and there's, you know, obviously the super walkers in France, and then, you know, in Spain there's probably going to be different types of walkers there as well. You know, I think that the way they've handled it overall was really well done. I want more of an explanation for the World Beyond post-credit scene specifically, but besides that, I really liked how they've handled it. And yeah, I imagine we will see other variants as well. You know, I think that for Gimple, he doesn't really want to do the whole variant storyline too much. He even said that during, I think it was Palais Fest or something like that recently, where, you know, he didn't even want to do the Super Walker storyline at all, but I think David Zabel convinced him to be like, no, like, it could be really exciting, and so they actually went in that direction and did that storyline, which is really interesting now that I'm thinking about it, because if you look at that walker in the World Beyond post-credit scene, that all happened before they filmed Daryl Dixon season 1, so it does really show you that that was probably not that connected overall to The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. Even though the walkers are similar, they are still very different. So yeah, but anyways, Q&A. Do you think we can ever get a team up between the Commonwealth and the CRM side by side, like Mercer and Rick fighting whatever new villain? Yes, I think that'd be really amazing, honestly. I hope that we do see Mercer again. Like, he was one of the best characters introduced in the final season, right? So I think that, yeah, if he came back, that would be honestly really incredible, because, I mean, that armor honestly was really crazy. Like, the orange Commonwealth armor looked absolutely awesome. And so, yeah, I would love to see him back at some point. And I do think that the Commonwealth and the CRM will team up. I think it's going to be more, though, that the Commonwealth will just sort of work with the CRM. Like, the CRM are so much bigger than the Commonwealth, and so it'll be one of those things where they just help the CRM with whatever plan that they have, or I don't know, like, that's the thing. There's a lot of, like, I'm sure, rules with certain places that's why I want, like, another story there. I think that there's a lot that they can actually expand on there. Like, does the Commonwealth have to listen to the CRM? What if they don't want to? What about places like Alexandria and the Hilltop? Because those are places that were having issues with the Commonwealth, right? Like, there's a lot of things like that that I'm really interested in, like, a lot of stuff that they can actually get into. So I would love to see a lot more of a story there, and maybe that's where they go with, you know, The Ones Who Live season 2. I think that'd be really cool. But thank you so much for posting all of your questions. I really enjoyed doing this Q&A. If you do want to take part in these Q&As, definitely go join the Discord. The server name is Appetite for the Dead. The link is in the description of this video, and yeah, I'll do this Q&A next Wednesday again. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.